Thank you for tuning in to TalkWad.com, the world's fastest growing internet radio network. Please check out all the other great shows on www.talkwad.com.
Welcome, America, to AmendmentOneRadio.com, where your First Amendment rights are still safe to say what's on your mind.
Good afternoon. It's 5:30 or shortly thereafter. My name is Catherine K. Guns, and this is Firearms Talk. My guest tonight is Gerald Markham. How you doing, man?
How's it going?
Awesome. And a little bit about myself. I have 15 years of experience with handling firearms, 2 years as a firearms dealer. Then one day I took a concealed weapons permit class, and I learned more in that 3.5 hours than I did in all the years of handling firearms. I advanced from there and became a firearms instructor, a Class G holder, which is a armed security guard, and I enjoy teaching and learning every day. If you want to call into the show, the studio phone number is 727-493-2055. And anything about yourself?
Yeah, I actually made it on time for a change.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah, traffic was good to me. Of course, then again, when we're an hour late, starting an hour later, it works better.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a little bit hour behind. We're actually going to consider maybe moving the time to a little bit later because a lot of my friends are saying, hey, we can't call you because we're working. So I adjusted the time a little bit, and I might actually go maybe around 8 p.m. sometime.
Yeah, that won't be bad.
Yeah. So this show is brought to you by sponsors and advertisers and people out there like you. And I want to thank Nolan from the TalkWad Radio Network because without him, none of this could be possible. And if you want to become a sponsor or an advertiser, all you have to do is go to talkwad.com. So that's www.talkwad.com. So it's talkwad.com. And that way you can fill out an application there, and there's a phone number that you can call to become a sponsor or even a radio show talk host. Because if I can do it, anybody can.
Yep, definitely. Hey, if I can do it too, that's seconds on that too.
Yeah. We got a lot of really interesting things coming up tonight. I got some video footage from YouTube on some things that quite shocked me. That would be about Judge Napolitano on Fox News. Who had talked about our First Amendment, actually, where Obama had actually, he secretly signed our First Amendment rights away. And I wouldn't have believed it myself, but it's on Fox News. And it's Judge Napolitano, who is like, you know, a very respected judge talking about this. And I don't know if he is ready to play the video footage of that, but it would be pretty awesome. You got that? Cool, he's dropping it in.
Well, it's a bill that has received very little attention but may make free speech a felony and seriously restrict your right to political protest. Just signed into law by the president, H.R. 347 gives federal agents sweeping powers to arrest and bring felony charges against citizens engaged in protests where the Secret Service is present. Joining us now with more, Fox News senior judicial analyst, good friend, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, the thing that jumps out off the page, felony?
Yeah, felony means more than a year in jail. This is not like a traffic ticket. For standing and protesting, the type of thing that for 230 years Americans took for granted because it was protected by the First Amendment, Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech, has actually been abridged by legislation the president signed last Thursday, supported overwhelmingly by both parties, with very, very little public debate and very little debate in Congress. Basically allows Secret Service agents to decide where there are no free speech zones, not speech zones, no free speech zones. And anybody by the Secret Service can, protected by the Secret Service, can ask those agents to ban protests wherever they are. So I can think of 3 violations: speech violations, association violations, the right to petition the government for a redress of your grievances. What good is free speech if the people in the government are so far away from you that they can't hear you?
Judge, what about keeping our elected officials safe?
Keeping our elected officials safe is entirely different from insulating them from protest. The fact that the president is going to a hotel up the block should not bar you from standing across the street with a sign or with a bullhorn saying what you think about the president's policies. That is not a threat to him, and it is a part of American history since day one that we have the right to speak freely to, about, and against those in the government.
Judge, do you think this is going to be one of those laws that is on the books but not enforced?
I think it's one of those laws that's going to be enforced when the government wants it enforced. The problem, Eric, is it puts a lot of unbridled discretion in the hands of Secret Service agents who may very well say, you know what, boss, you've had a rough day. We'll keep everybody away from you. Or, you know what, boss, this crowd likes you, so we're going to let them. We're going to let you hear them. That's suppressing speech on the basis of its content. And that has been expressly prohibited by the First Amendment since day one.
What dictates the Secret Service is present? In other words, aren't they present all over Washington, D.C.?
Well, they are, and that's a great question because this law also allows the president to give Secret Service protection to whoever he wants. I'll give you a bizarre example. His campaign managers are coming to Washington to confer with him about the campaign. He can give them Secret Service protection. And then the Secret Service can say to the kids in the streets, you can't shout at David Axelrod, because the campaign manager, because the Secret Service is protecting him. This is a slow, creeping destruction of some of our basic liberties, and the president signed it in secret.
And now some of the Secret Service are going to be providing services for the candidates now as well, right?
Correct.
So
correct.
People aren't going to be able to have their opinion about the candidates?
If the Secret Service so declares, you won't be able to shout at them.
Judge, got to go. The economy's not bad. Sorry about
Absolutely wild, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty crazy. So definitely, and actually what makes it even more interesting is I took the liberty today to call up a major lawyer firm today and asked them, would they represent somebody under the guidelines of the Constitution to file impeachment against Barack Obama?
Wow.
They actually sit there and told me, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to check with the Florida Bar. Our organization does not do anything in those guidelines. And I told her, I said, so in other words, what you're telling me is that you guys are scared to death of the political ramifications if you even attempt to bring this to it. I said, so really, what do you think the Florida Bar is going to do with it? I said, they're not going to do a damn thing either. So I said, I do have another route, and I will be filing as quick as I can because of this particular clip that you guys just seen, because it is unconstitutional. And as long as he keeps being let to sidestep the Constitution, then he will keep on.
Yeah. What fires me up is I watched C-SPAN again last night, and they had basically in the courtrooms with Feinstein in there, and they were doing the debate about banning guns, and there were some really good points, but I don't think it's for us, I can tell you that. We had the Florida state representative up there, and she was a longtime career sheriff department, and it does several other things, and she basically simply stated, enforce the laws we have, because the bad guys aren't going to follow the rules anyways. Same thing I always say. And then we had another guy with gun statistics, and he brought up all the statistics on how many times ARs were used in actual crimes, other than the major ones that have happened recently. And some of the statistics he said were actually quite shocking in numbers, because those firearms weren't obtained legally. And then they went on to some other statistics about, do you guys know how many of those were actually used in self-defense? And they weren't able to break it down, and that was rather disappointing. So, wow, I kind of at a loss for words for it. It was quite shocking. And then they had another a speaker of the NRA that came up and talked about they're planning on banning over 150 firearms. This is not the same ban that they did that failed. The one with Bill Clinton era, that he dropped it because it wasn't doing anything anyways. So now they're banning over 150 different styles of firearms. And his biggest, strongest point was, and you guys, it's true, they're going to ban firearms with pistol grips. Okay, and you got to really think that through. And he brought it right home. Every firearm has a pistol grip. Think about that for a second.
Yep. Even especially those so-called Joe Biden assault shotguns.
Oh, yeah. It's a nub, but it's a pistol grip. They can
Yep.
count it as that. And so they're saying that they're not trying to take our Second Amendment rights away. You guys, you got to read it. This is why we are fighting so hard.
That's for sure, because this is just the beginning, not to mention that the bridge that he just cut across to sit there and sign into effect about the Secret Service taking away your First Amendment right, that just opened the door.
Oh, yeah.
Because guess what's coming next? You've got talk shows. This is how they shut up people like Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck. Of course, I could give a rat's ass less. I think they need to be shut up anyways. But, and it's just like even people as far as us, the internet will be overseen by federal regulations, which means that if I go in there and say something bad about our government, then guess what? The show's shut down and I go to jail. So, and this is the whole thing where this is leading into, and with them opening the door the way they did without any altercations with it, they don't stop there. It keeps going.
No, they don't. And I think Will, our techie in here, he made a great statement, and I really admire him for it. He said that, what if a million people stood up and protested against that? And then I kind of said in a smart-ass remark that, and it's probably true, he says, they can't round us all up, right? And I said, what about the FEMA camps?
Yep.
Scary thought,
Well, not to mention the fact that, why does the post office need 150 million or billion rounds of ammo?
Yeah.
So, and it's just like, come on, people. If you're really going to sit back and say, that's just government. No, it's not government. It's called New World Order government. So, and not to mention the fact, wait till you hear about the gold issues. Yeah.
Do you know a tidbit? They have to tune into your show?
Oh, well, actually, it's really quick and simple. Germany's wanting to know where their gold is that they have stored here in the United States. United States told them, well, we can let you see a 10% of your gold, but it'll take us 7 years for us to be able to get you to see that before we can even send you any portion of it. So now they've also got, I believe it was...
well, you know how they get it back, because they don't have it. So what they're going to do is take it away from the American people. And it's going to take them about 7 years to confiscate it all up. Is that my guess?
Oh, I'd say, hey, you're probably right in the right ballpark with it. So not to mention now, not only is Germany do it, but there's another country that just came in this week and they want to see their gold as well.
Oh, I wonder if we're going to be creating tungsten gold. You know what I'm talking about? Where we paint the lead bars.
Yep.
They're going to drill it.
I don't doubt that.
Oh, man.
So, but yeah, I mean, hey, if you think your government's not corrupt, hey, how you like your economy now?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I keep looking at my paycheck and I want to cry. Jeez.
Oh, that's okay. It only gets better from here. The economy's up. The recession's over with. Housing's starting to come back.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, keep thinking that, people.
Come on, everybody out there knows that's not the truth. I would like to believe everybody out there knows the truth anyways, but...
all them people that are sitting back saying, I got my Obama phone and I'm a happy camper. He going to get me a house and a new car. And it's just like, yeah.
Really? Wow.
You keep thinking that because
oh, my goodness.
this so-called sequester opens the door for him to tax us again. And it's going to be about 20%.
And we were just talking about this last week. It is so bad because they're going to stop Head Start schools. You guys get prepared for that. And we're not saying, oh my God, you're going to have to scramble to find babysitters and everything. Think of it like this. It is more devastating because the one guy said it best, and I love what he said. It was on C-SPAN. Unfortunately, I should have jotted all these people's names down, but I don't remember their names. But he was a higher up, and he said, so let me get this right. You have to learn how to read. Then you have to read to learn. So if we stop Head Start, that there's a huge gap there. There's a problem.
Yeah.
So, and I thought, if I'm not mistaken, didn't the lottery pay for the schooling? Where is that money at?
Well, supposedly with what they did, they were trying to do an audit of the lottery, and I guess it's something like $100 billion or something like that. But the funny thing about it is 85% went for government projects and the other 15% went for the actual schools is what I was told. So, but
wow.
and it's just, it's ridiculous. So, people's got to read, man. They got to check into their stuff. They got to
We got to
read.
stand up for our rights while they're still there. I mean, they're going to take our rights to think away next, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why they invented Xbox and all the rest of these.
Yeah, right. So that's exactly it. So I urge everybody to please become an NRA member. It's only $35 for a whole year. Donate some money, not much. Even if you don't have the 35, donate what you got. Call your congressmen. They do it in 3 steps. I want you to call your congressmen. I want you to write them and email them. Do all 3 at least once. It doesn't take that much time out of your day. Jot an email down, print it, go mail that part, email the other one, and give them a phone call. Because we want to defend our rights here, and if we're not being heard, they're just going to mow right over the top of us. There's no doubt about it. I even thought of an idea last night. I thought, we can solve this great gun debate right now. Like we do an election for the president, basically a vote. Why don't we put this whole thing up for vote, whether we should have guns or we shouldn't? Let the American people speak. Because honestly, if the American people say, okay, and the majority rules that nobody wants firearms, all right, I'll accept it. But I don't think that's how we feel. I really don't.
Nah, just as long as they hold the vote in Texas, I'll be happy.
Yeah, well, right? I said because there's over 1 million CWP holders in the state of Florida. You got the entire Florida State Sheriff's Department, entire Florida. Let me see if I can pull this up, because every sheriff in Florida pledges to protect the Second Amendment rights. I think Will's pulling it up for me. Yay! All right, so it was a very neat article that we found on theexaminer.com. And it basically lists off all the counties that pledged to protect the First or Second Amendment rights. So on Sunday, February 17th, the Watchdog Wire reported that they received an email from the constitutional sheriff stating that all 67 sheriffs in the counties of Florida have signed a pledge declaring that they not only support the Second Amendment, but they will protect the right of the people to keep and bear arms. 67. That's every single county in the state. Florida has become the first state to receive 100% support from every sheriff, which makes this a huge statement opposing tyrannical acts against the United States Constitution. And the statement that as many of other states are most likely soon to follow. So that at least they got our back on that one.
Yeah.
So far, anyways, right? If they ban our First Amendment rights, we're in trouble, man. But, so let me see. Where I read there, perhaps it's a bit ironic that Florida officially the first state of the 100% to support the Second Amendment right, but it was also the state that favored Obama over Romney in the past election year. Although they are both anti-gun or so-called pro-gun, depending on which state they are currently seeking support from. The Little Rock Gun Rights Examiner commends the sheriffs of Florida for their decision to not only show their support for the people of the right to keep and bear arms, but for pledging and protecting that right for all of American people. Sheriffs who have signed the pledge are listed below, and I found it on the website. I'm not going to list off all 64 counties because that's quite a mouthful. But I wanted to thank everybody for doing that. Thank every sheriff's department out there as well. So, hoorah. Alrighty. And my favorite guy, Colonel, we're going to read an article here a little later on. It's by Colonel Benjamin Finley. I read an article that he had written last week that was really, really awesome. And I always enjoy reading what he's got to say. But just before we go to that, I also had ran across this YouTube video of a man that stood up for his rights. He had been, he got harassed by the cops for open carry, and he was legally allowed to carry in that state open carry. So we're going to go ahead and drop that video, and you guys check this out.
Oh, absolutely not. My hand will not go near it. I just want to make sure everything's being recorded. I want to make sure this is all within the law. Yep. I have no problem with you guys checking. Again, trust me, I don't. I understand you're doing your job. It's just this is the 5th time. It's getting a little absurd. Yeah. You know, it's almost harassment, guys. Yep. So, how you doing, officer? Can I have your name, sir? Please? Summers, Officer Summers. And your name, sir? Your name, sir?
Officer Trott.
Thank you.
B as in boy.
Thank you. I appreciate your officer's cooperation. Sir. Officer, your department checked that and then handed me my firearm back. Officer, there is no, cite me the law that says I have to do that. Cite me the law. That's not true, officer. Your department checked this weapon and told me it was not valid to me and gave it back to me. What does that tell you? Right. Right. That's the ATF form. That's on them. I didn't fill out the ATF form. Officer, I do not consent of any searches of my person. I am not committing a crime at all. I am walking down the street. I'm not going to give you my name. I'm not committing a crime, sir. Do you have reasonable suspicion that I'm committing a crime right now? Well, you're in public, so there's no presumption of privacy, and you know that. So you're going to tell all these people to not listen? Are you going to tell everyone in the apartments to not listen? I should ask you guys that same thing again. This is the 5th time.
We're here to protect the public, all right? Okay.
Am I breaking the law?
We don't know. Are you?
No.
Are you a felon? Are you a convicted felon?
Not at all.
How do we know? How do we know that?
It's-
I'm not a mind. First time I ever met you, sir.
I agree.
First time.
I agree. But what are you supposed to do when you see someone lawfully engaged in a lawful
You have
act?
to make sure that you have a lawful allowed to carry that. Number one, that you're not a convicted felon.
But that does not require a permit in the state of Pennsylvania, sir. That is not a reasonable...
It doesn't matter where you are. If you're a convicted felon, you cannot have a weapon on you.
But that is not... What, are you guys going to run a background check on me? I'm pretty sure that's dealt by the Pennsylvania Instant Check System, sir.
I don't know that. How do I know that's in this check bag? Do you have any paperwork on the gun?
I don't need any. It's not required by law.
All right, listen. Let's see your ID.
Officer, I do not consent to any searches of my person or my property.
Provide us with your name. You have to, okay? It's not a choice, you have to. I'm asking you nicely, because as always, I just forgot your name. I know it's in our system. I've dealt with it before. But when a number of people call us that you're carrying a firearm, we have to check it out.
I agree. It needs to be investigated, and you should be able to drive by me and see that I'm... If I was running down the street with my shirt off, with this in my hand, bucking it off at people, I would completely say you have a valid point. How do I know? I can go to...
Neither of us have ever encountered you before, right? Have you ever seen him around?
That does not matter, officer.
Yes, it does. Produce your name as always.
Officer, I cannot do that. I do not consent to any searches of my person. I am not committing a crime. There is no reasonable, articulable suspicion that there is a crime being committed.
You have to provide your name, okay?
I'm not going to.
Well, you have to.
I'm not going to.
All right, I'll call it.
All right. For now, we're taking the gun. I want you to hit. We're taking control of the weapon until we figure out what's going on here. Is it loaded?
No, sir. There is a magazine in it, but there is no loading chamber.
All right.
I do not consent to any searches of my person or my property.
That's fine.
That includes serial number searches of my weapon.
All right.
No, sir. I have a Leatherman on my belt on the other side. I don't want to give you guys a hard time. I really
Well,
don't.
then why didn't you just give us your name?
Because this is the 5th time I have been stopped for following the law.
Listen to me. People see you walking down the street with a gun.
I agree.
They have no idea. To them, that's a threat to them. They don't know you.
That does not constitute a reason to stop me. If I'm walking down the street wearing a Halloween mask and it scares people, that is not a reason to stop me, officer. You know
But
that.
when you're carrying a handgun,
In a legal, lawful manner, in an open carried holster.
but you have
That's
to,
threatening?
You have to identify yourself.
No, you don't. I don't need identification to walk down the street. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do I need identification to walk down the street, sir?
I don't know. You in the state of Pennsylvania, you can
Is this
have
not
a
the-
firearm without if you have a conviction of a felony, right?
Right, which is for the Pennsylvania Instant
Well,
Check
how do
System
I
to
know if you have a
determine.
conviction for felony if I never dealt with you before?
That's not your position to do that.
It
What
is
do you stop?
absolutely my position.
Do you stop every single person you see to make sure they're not a felon? Do you stop every car that drives by to make sure they have a license? No, you do not.
If they have a firearm and somebody calls and says they're offended by a firearm,
Well, that's not. It's not the law to
it's
deal
the
with
law.
someone being
If you're
offended.
legal to have it, then it's fine.
Right.
Is it
Which-
the law to give me a hard time?
It is the law that you
Is it
you
the
guys
law
should be
to give
upholding.
me a hard time?
It's my right.
Well,
I have the right to
Well-
say these things, and you know that.
Well, you have the right to do anything you want. I have the right to protect myself.
I agree. You officers, again, I understand you guys are doing your job. I get that. I get that. Trust me, I do. I don't want to give you guys a hard time. I don't. But this is the 5th, 6th time on this same block.
Can I tell you what might even be better?
I've been held at gunpoint by your guys'
If I
department
would know
twice
better, I would think you
for
did
something
this
that
on purpose.
I can't conceal carry because
You
our.
hear what I said?
I heard what you said, officer. The only reason I don't conceal carry is because in this stupid state, I got charged with a marijuana bowl when I was 18. That is a prohibiting offense for life. I am forced to open carry, and I'm forced to deal with this BS every time. This is the 6th time I've been stopped. I have had firearms pulled on me for something that is completely lawful in our state. This is wrong, gentlemen. This is wrong. You should be following the Constitution. I get you have to do a job. There is no reasonable...
The president follows the Constitution.
The president doesn't follow the Well, there you go, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, isn't that sad? Turning into freaking Nazi Germany. You gentlemen know about the National Defense Authorization Act, don't you? But yet I'm the crazy one for walking down the street with a gun? Well, I am okay.
It would take us 5 seconds
To harass me.
Harass you, yeah. Just the way we're just standing there.
Apparently. You guys know full well you could have rode right on by and there wouldn't have been any wrongdoing in that at all. Is there reasonable, articulable suspicion? What is the presumption of a crime? Can you cite the law, please? What was I doing wrong that made you think that I was committing a crime? Please tell me.
Somebody said that you were and I never met you before. I don't know who you are.
So if you don't meet someone, that doesn't mean you can all of a sudden just stop them.
You go and you went around the corner here and shot somebody and they said...
That could happen anyways.
An officer drive right past and give him a high five.
They should say good. They followed in the steps of the law.
And it's found out that you were convicted felon.
That doesn't matter.
And that the gun was stolen.
Me walking down the street does not constitute the needing to stop me. This is not Nazi Germany, gentlemen. How many police cruisers are here? 1, 2, 3,
maybe 4.
4 officers. Yep. This is at least the 6th time, 7th time I've been stopped. All I wanted to do was walk down and grab some potatoes. I've got food cooking at my house, and I don't drive. And being that the shitty state that we live in, I'm forced to carry a firearm because, as you guys know, your response time's what? 8 minutes? You guys are responders. You guys respond to something that has already happened. You guys do not prevent crime, you respond to crime. Thank you. Do you have a problem with civilians being armed, sir? Nope. Thank you. Good. Do you, sir? A complete waste of my time. And yours. This is a waste of tax dollars. This is a waste of 4 police cruisers for someone following the law. For someone that is not your position to determine. You do not stop.
Well, we're going to find out.
Again, I ask, do you have reasonable, articulable suspicion that I am committing a crime of any sort?
Yes, I have no idea who you are.
That I don't need identification to walk down the street in America. This is not North Korea, sir.
We can wrap that up.
All right. We got.
Yeah, guys. So you heard of that. You can YouTube that very, very easily. So there's a couple of things that I definitely have a lot of 2 cents to add to that. Number one, I don't care what state you're in. You do not have to give any information out, even if they request it. And there's a YouTube video on that too. I'm not going to play it, but I just want to give you guys a tidbit. I have a lot of law enforcement friends, and I also have a lot of lawyer friends. Let me tell you something. If a cop asks you or pulls you over because you didn't give him your name, since where is that in the law books that's breaking the law? Okay? You don't have to tell anybody anything. If you were in a self-defense situation, you do not even have to tell them what happened. Just a little tidbit of information. Did you know that when a police officer is involved in a shooting situation, that they do not have to give a police report until 3 days later? It's a cool-off period. Gives them time to get their thoughts together and be able to get off the adrenaline rush and speak about what's happened and document it. Well, we have that same right as well. So the only thing you should say if you've ever been in that situation, if you end up in it, I'm not saying that you're not going to get arrested. You probably will. Somebody's dead, okay? Or really seriously injured. I'm not going to say you're not going to get arrested, but you do not have to volunteer any information, even to the point where that kid actually volunteered something about a drug charge, and then now he's forced to open carry, because I guess in that state, you have the option to conceal or open carry. Okay? He didn't even have to volunteer that information. He doesn't have to volunteer any information. You could basically end up at the crime scene where you've defended yourself and say, all right, so you get arrested. They ask you to say anything. You don't have to. I want my lawyer.
Yep.
That's all you got to say. I was in fear for my life, and I want my lawyer. That's all you got to say. And then you go from there. That's why these things don't get turned and twisted. Don't worry about what the public says. Oh, he's not speaking. He ran to a lawyer immediately. You see with all of the news media how many debacles we've had of he said and she said crap and made up shit. You know?
Oh, especially the best part about it is when you're being interrogated, especially when they go home after 6 to 8 hours and they bring the second team in to interrogate you. By the time you get through sitting there for about 17, 20 hours, you're tired, you're beat, you're willing to say anything just so you can go to sleep. But the whole bottom line is all you got to do is sit there and say, excuse me, I plead my constitutional right. I plead the fifth. I have the right to an attorney. And I also understand what the meaning of anything you say can and will be used against you in every aspect of the law to save the other person's ass until you get into court. You are now in a country now that believes you are guilty until you are proven innocent. Our
And they can
Constitution.
cherry pick. They can
Yep.
cherry pick one statement, move it from here and put it over there, and it'll make you look bad.
Yep.
Yeah, you could be completely innocent, and they still will make you look bad.
Yep.
So I've had cop friends tell me that. So you got to be careful what you say. You do not have to justify yourself. That's up to the jury trial and your lawyers to debate against, okay? You do not have to justify it. You do have to act within the law, okay?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he was doing, was acting within the law and being clearly harassed. And I know some people might say, well, he shouldn't have been walking down the street with a firearm. Well, in that particular state, that's legal.
Yep.
If they didn't like it, they shouldn't have legalized it.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So he and everybody else is being harassed there for being able to do one of their legal rights.
Yeah, what makes it even funny is even in the state of New York, you've got the right to carry an arm, but why are the police knocking on doors and taking people's guns?
Yeah, I saw that. That was on C-SPAN as well. They were interviewing a range. I think it was in Virginia. They were talking about it, and they actually showed some footage of the New York police officers going into people's houses and confiscating firearms. Now, I didn't get to catch enough whether it was legal confiscation or illegal confiscation of people, if they were legal to have the guns or not. But I tell you what, if it was the bad guys that had guns, you don't think that wouldn't have broke out all over the news media and blown up, oh, we got some more bad guys' guns. So that tells me, since it didn't hit the news,
Mm-hmm.
that these were illegal confiscations of people who legally owned firearms.
Yep.
So
Yeah. I mean, it is, it's just crazy with everything that's going on right now, especially the gun aspect of everything, because even to this day, I still have not heard of any president, any political affiliate, politician, or anything like that has came out and said, well, we're having all these problems with the guns, and the majority of these people have had mental illnesses. Let's do a survey and a study on mental illness, and let's, really bring down the gun situation on mental patients. And then what we'll do is we'll light a fire under the state attorney's asses. We'll light a fire underneath these judges, and we'll also light a fire underneath the Leos that want to kind of manipulate the law a little bit to try and make the charges, a little less or a little worse, depending on what situation is. And nothing against Leo whatsoever, because a lot of my friends are. But the whole thing about it is that, hey, these judges and state's attorneys, these guys are a joke. We vote these people in, and let me tell you something. You need to take a good look, because in 2014, the elections are coming around again, and all your local and districts and everything, check these judges out and find out what their ratios are as far as prison time and let-off time. And then what you do is you vote no for these idiots, these state attorneys that keep doing deals and letting all these guys out. I can tell you 10 dead police officers in Tampa, Florida, that because of one particular state attorney here that keeps making deals with criminals to let them out. So, and it's just like, it's time to make a change.
yeah, absolutely. So, that's what we need to do, is to do a real change here. And it doesn't take that much to call your congressman, write him, and email him. Guys, we're being run over by. And I've actually lost several friends, and I've gained several more in make of it. And what they're wanting to do is divide us, Democrat, Republican, and that we should be fighting neck and neck, pro-gun, anti-gun. I'm talking about something bigger than that, okay? If you don't want to carry a gun, I don't care, okay? But it's my right.
Yep.
Okay? And that shouldn't make you hate me or me hate you. We're both human.
Yep.
Okay?
Oh, just think of all the different parts of the United States where it's mandatory to go in there and carry a gun. I mean, and look at the crime rates around those particular towns where it's mandatory to carry guns, especially in Texas. Look at their crime rates. They're damn near next to zero.
Yeah.
You know, you go out there and do something stupid, they're going to shoot your ass. Dead. Sorry about your luck.
I don't know of any criminal that has the balls to rob somebody who is openly carried, armed.
Yep.
I just don't know.
You know,
most of criminals are cowards.
Yeah.
Yeah, they prey upon the weak people or somebody. That's why they go after little old ladies. They usually go after women. They go after children. They rarely ever go after somebody that is bigger than they are.
Yeah. I mean, check out some of these granny stories where the grannies have had guns and, you know, you've got these two little thug bastards that'll break into their houses and stuff and getting ready to beat the granny. And the next thing you know, she pulls out a 9mm, shoots the shit out of both of them, kills them dead. And then it's just like, you don't hear nothing else about it.
Mm-mm.
So, you know, and it's just like, hey, hats off to the grannies that carry guns because you know something? They should carry guns.
That's right. And it's their right to do so. It doesn't make me a bad person. I don't have to explain myself. If I want to carry a firearm, it's my right to. If I want my AR-15, it's my right.
That's right. And if I want my BMG, it's my right.
50 caliber BMG.
Yeah, because the cool thing about that is if I shoot that in the neighborhood, everybody knows it for at least a half a mile around.
Yeah. Might part the seas there.
Sorry about your luck, criminals. Shot you guys.
So if anybody wants to call in and share their opinion, I don't know. I don't mind if you're pro-gun or anti-gun. You guys are more than welcome to call in at any time. The studio call-in number is 727-493-2055. Again, that phone number is 727-493-2055. So I wanted to go over that article that I had mentioned earlier by Colonel Benjamin Finley. I like a lot what he has to say. And he also says there are 5 steps to take to support the Second Amendment gun rights. And let's start this article out. I want to share some of the information about my gun rights and beliefs, what I believe, what I do, and I suggest 5 things that you can do today to support our gun rights. Like millions of law-abiding gun holders in America, I am a peace-loving person, I am honest, and I want to avoid trouble at all costs. I have not fired a gun at anyone and actually do not have any desire to use a gun on anyone, and I pray I never have to draw it in self-defense. I want to avoid the trouble, and I strongly believe in the power of deterrence and peacefully and rationally talking through differences to solve problems. I accept that only a last resort, do we want to be prepared to defend ourselves with a gun when attacked or threatened with death or serious physical harm. This is not a sign of weakness, and it does not make us cowards or wimps, or it doesn't even make us irresponsible. This is a disciplined, rational, intelligent, win-win way of thinking, peaceful, resolving conflicts. But we are still going to be prepared, because as a good guy or girl with a gun, unlike criminals who use guns illegally for their own selfish desires, and they do not act responsibly with firearms. I own firearms, too. I have fun with my target shooting as a hobby. I teach others and properly and safely use them, and so that I can be prepared to defend myself and my family. And just in case that need arises, I don't seek out trouble and recognize that introducing a gun into the confrontation actually escalates the encounter. I just taught a class this morning about that, explaining that. You cannot use your firearm to defuse an argument, okay?
Works pretty good if your gun's bigger than theirs, though.
It's a confidence piece.
Yeah.
When it's carried out by an overt threat that you really believe that you're going to die if you don't defend yourself, that's when you do it.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not I win.
No.
It's not one of those, okay?
Yeah.
I do rest easier knowing that I could immediately stop an armed robber, a home invader, attack, or a terrorist, and if they arose, that my wife could stop a rapist, a murderer, or rather than being a victim. Sadly, we live in a real world, which we must accept that criminals, ruthless, bad people, violent behaviors, and dangerous do realistically exist and will continue to exist. We want to focus on the positive good, but we must recognize that there are evil predators out there, and we need to protect ourselves. The good things we have worked for, We want our gun rights because we know about the evil in the world, and we do accept the responsibility for protecting ourselves and our loved ones. We want to be a part of the deterrence of the evil crime to cause violent criminals to wonder if the next person they choose to harm may be the one that fights back, thus influencing them not to act. The more law-abiding citizens that are armed or might possibly be armed in the eyes of the criminal, the more they worry and the hesitation they will have on their predatory actions. And they may choose not to violently attack, kill, or harm us, or rape or rob us. The simple fact is that gun control laws do not stop criminals, bad guys, or girls from getting and using guns. But instead, they only disarm the law-abiding good girls and guys, citizens, that make us easier targets for the criminals. If the criminal wants a gun, they will get one, usually from the street or illegal sources. It is not justifiable to deprive law-abiding citizens of their constitutional right to keep and bear arms from self-defense, just because the criminals misuse guns, just as criminals misuse knives, baseball bats, bombs, tools, you name it. If we take the guns, that doesn't mean they're not going to use another weapon, but I can guarantee you they'll get their hands on a gun.
Yep.
Yeah. So people harm others by using tools improperly, and the inanimate tool that does not think or act by itself. Okay? Simply put, gun ownership is an individual right guaranteed by the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, and by Florida's Constitution, Article 1, Section 8. Whereas good guys and girls assume the personal responsibility for using guns as positive tools for good self-defense only if necessary. Our nation's highest court has already made us an individual gun rights clear in several U.S. Supreme Court's landmark decisions, like Heller and like McDonald and the City versus of Chicago. The Heller case was the first Supreme Court case to affirm the right of an individual's right to keep and bear arms in accordance with the Second Amendment. The McDonald decision overturned it earlier by a decision banning the possession of handguns by its citizens. These decisions mean that it should not be necessary to argue the merits of the right to gun ownership, just as it is unnecessary to argue the merits of the person's right to vote or to become free from slavery. Gun ownership, along with our other constitutional rights, is simply not subject to infringement on the grounds that some members of a society disapprove of that right, and we feel that we'd be better off if they were right, if they didn't exist, or they were significantly modified. I oppose anti-freedom policies that disregard American citizens' rights to self-defense and freedoms of our founding fathers fought for and guaranteed to us. My ancestors Thomas Newsom and the soldier and farmer found under General George Washington in the Battle of Brandywine Creek in 1777, defending Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and our freedoms of independence. Our founding fathers wrote the Second Amendment so that we would never have to live through tyranny from our governments. We should not be undermined the fundamental liberties that our men and women in uniform have fought so bravely to preserve, and on which the entire American system's government and free lifestyles are based. Patriotic citizens should never surrender their gun ownership rights nor our Second Amendment freedom. Period. No compromise. There should not be a compromise at our freedom, because doing so means that we give up our values and our rights to meet the position of those that don't fully support those rights. We didn't want a lose-lose situation where everybody gives up something so we can meet in the middle ground position. We want a win-win where everybody gains the preservation of their existing rights. Giving up some of our Second Amendment rights may even lead to other amendments and freedoms of our Bill of Rights to be lost or compromised. And any attempt to encroach on the freedoms of our is offensive to every American who has ever breathed our free air and who has ever used a firearm to fend off an evil attacker, whether it be a rapist, a violent attacker, criminal breaking into their home, or defense of their family against a tyrant on the other side of the world. Gun rights control is not a reasonable nor rational response to crime. Interestingly, some studies indicate that there are much stronger correlation between car ownership and car-related killings than there is between gun ownership and gun-related killings. Most often, murderers are committed by people with a criminal record who were prohibited from owning guns already. Perhaps we should more strongly enforce the existing firearms related to laws and have stricter penalties applied. Predators and criminals are not deterred even by the present laws that are making it a felony to commit murder, or make it a felony to possess a gun to their criminal record. Sadly, criminal mind exists. Well, it exists, and we must defend ourselves against it.
Definitely.
Yeah. Some say a magazine capacity restrictions ban should have been in effect, and many mass shooting victims would be alive today. There seems to be a complete absence of any evidence of support of that. Magazines are tools available and good for and bad that are available to good and bad people. For example, the Virginia Tech shooter
Sung Hung Cho
was reported to have carried 100 magazines, and the most active criminal shooters carry multiple firearms, making magazine capacity moot. Whew, that's a lot to read. It's got me all pumped up. I'm like shaking. I'm so mad when I'm reading this, you know?
Yep.
Okay. Our Second Amendment is a freedom most valuable and most cherished and most it's irreplaceable idea. History proves it. When you ignore the right of the good of people to own firearms to protect their freedom, you become the enablers of the future tyrants whose regimes will destroy millions and millions of defensive lives. The ruthless Hitler believed to conquer a nation first disarmed its citizens. We have imposed strict gun registration requirements that enable him to identify gun owners to compensate all guns by the House of Inspections, effectively disarming his opponents and paving its way for the genocide of Jewish population.
Hey, we got a phone call.
Oh, we do. Hello, caller.
Well, hello, Catherine. This is Joe. I just wanted to make a comment when you were saying about, gun rights that are granted. There's no, and I think most people will agree, there is no government that has a right to grant it to you. It's a natural right to be able to protect your family, defend you against enemies, tyrants. There's no government that can give you that right or take it away. It's one of those rights that you're just born with.
It's like natural, and you even look in other species, it's natural. Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have to regulate leopards to have claws or not have claws to defend for their, or to feed or to hunt.
Oh,
so
cool.
Why is it different for humans?
Yeah, that's right. It's just a tool that makes it easier for us to defend ourselves.
That's why we have politicians. They think they're better than everybody else, and they can make the rules that benefit them.
It's a joke. Politicians, to me, they're basically worthless, the majority of them. I mean, there's a few that honestly mean well and do well, but the majority of them, as soon as they get any kind of position of power, it's all about them and the hell with everybody else.
Yep, definitely. What do you think about the theory as far as Democrats and Republicans, instead of being one or the other, that they're actually both to blame?
Oh, yeah, I agree. They're not doing any of this negotiation they're doing is not for the benefit of us. It's to benefit their political career. They're standing in the public's eye. How much they can gain by saying, they're pro-gun or anti-gun. They flip-flop. They change their minds, which tells me they don't really care about, they're not concerned about the regular citizen in this country. They're only concerned about their own well-being. You look at any politician that goes in office, they all come out wealthier than before they went in. Go figure.
Yeah, that's why I sit there, and even on my show, I sit there and tell people that, a base politician's salary is anywhere from $145,000 to $165,000 per year. After 4 years, they're pretty much vested in. Then they get 8 years. How is it possible that after 8 years, these people come out being worth $10, $15, $20 million? And, and it's just, it really
even if they had
gets my mind.
The best stockbroker in the world and invested every dime, they still couldn't have made all that money.
It's the lottery.
Yeah.
It's the political lottery.
It's the greatest welfare system in the world. We pay for these bozos.
Yeah.
Well, the worst part about it is the fact that, with those kind of situations going on, that they even just passed a law that basically insider trading is okay for politicians. And this is how the majority of them claim their wealth. I mean, even that scumbag little bitch, Nancy Pelosi, she's worth something about like $28 million. And it's just like between her and Feinstein, I think those are the biggest dumbass broads that ever walked in politics. But yet they still keep getting elected.
When I watch them, when they talk about, gun control, we all know what it really is. It's just control. They have this innate fear of something. It's like they've never sat down to think about what firearms really are. All they do is they react because they don't like them, so therefore you and I can't like them and we can't have them.
Yeah, they look scary.
You do. They look like they're terrified, and they have no reason to be terrified. I'm not a threat to them. You're not a threat to them.
Yeah.
I may not like them. I may disagree with them, but I could care less what they do. So long as they don't hurt me or my family or friends, I don't have a problem with them.
Well, see, that's why on my show, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get people aware of everything now that for the 2014 elections, let's start our new party and get it going intact. And I like to call it the American Party. So, because something, I'm sick and tired of the potential assholes that keep sitting there and doing their same lies, same horse crap. And it's just, when you're in the good old boy system of the politics, the sky's the limit. You've got one group that'll give you money to talk bad about one thing. You've got another group that'll give you money to talk good about the same thing. And, it's just, what about the American people?
I think what I find most offensive with the politicians is they say one thing and they do totally the opposite. They flip-flop, and they can do it with a straight face. Yet if you or I did that in the real world, you did that on your job. Your boss says, can you do this when you get hired? You say, yes, I can do this, this, and this. And then 3 months later, you say, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do this, this, and this. And I want you to keep me and give me more money.
Yeah.
And they seem to think that's okay. But if we did that, we'd be out on our ass.
Oh, yeah. It's ridiculous. Even look at the fact that even the day after the election, look who was having lunch together. Obama and Romney. They're sitting there laughing it up, joking it up, and it's just like, hey, we just suckered the American people in for millions and millions and billions of dollars now, and we're having a good damn time doing it. So, and it's just like, this is politics 101, people. You got to wake up.
I don't know how old you are, but
49.
When I was growing up, they had a group called the Weathermen.
Yeah.
And there was a line from Bob Dylan's song, and it always stuck. It says, you don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind is blowing.
Ain't that the truth?
And basically what he was saying, it was a change coming, and that's basically it. And if you talk, I talk to a lot of people, I'm sure you do too, every day, and people are angry. They're frustrated. They're disgusted. They're fed up.
Yeah.
They're just like, something has to change. It cannot continue like this. Something has to change.
Well, I think one of the strongest ways to make a change is to make ourselves be heard. So we probably, because we're busting our butts every week trying to put 40 and 50 hours a week so we can make next week's rent, so we don't have time to rally, but we certainly do have time to email, write a letter, and call our congressman.
And vote.
And vote. That's right.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you what, man, if you can do this, because we're running out of time here on this particular show, if you give it about 10 minutes, call back. My show will be fired up. It's all about the political realm of...
all right.
But
Sounds good.
Hey, definitely give us a call back. I'll be more than happy to chit chat with you, and I can throw some zingers at you to really get you going.
Yeah.
All right. Good. You have a good night. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Thank
buddy.
you, Joe.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye. Yeah. So, everybody, you do have to tune into the next show. That's really awesome. It's called Voice of America with Gerald. And, definitely tune into that. I do tune in every week. I don't call in, but I tune in. So we'll continue this conversation that we had about that article that was written by the colonel there. That was just a really awesome article. So we'll recontinue with that. And then I wanted to take the time to thank everybody out there for listening to our show. This is Firearms Talk, and I'm Catherine K. Guns. I wanted to thank all of our sponsors and advertisers out there, because without them, it couldn't be possible. If you want to be a sponsor and advertiser, certainly do give a call. If you want to become a radio talk show host, please do that, because if I can do it, anybody can, all right? and you have to go to www.talkwad.com. So that's TALKWAD.com. And then you just fill out the application there, set up an appointment to come do an interview. And we have 2 studio locations. We got one here in Clearwater, right just south of Curlew Road and US 19.
Yep.
I get tongue-tied often, and I know that everybody that listens can hear it. My mind goes faster than my tongue. And then it just kind of
be a good thing.
tumbles over everything. And then, you are so bad. and then we also have a radio station over in Tampa, just on Dale Mabry in Line Ball, right behind the Starbucks there. And I also wanted to tell everybody out there on the last final note, Starbucks is pro-gun, okay? They're on our side. So anytime that you want to go get a cup of coffee, do support Starbucks too. I think it's pretty cool that they're pro-gun. So.
Yep. And actually, one of the quick things I got to say for all you fans out there that live in the Tampa Bay area that are from Ohio, like in Cincinnati area, there's a little store that just opened up in Hadusa Plaza that actually is called Cincy's. And they actually sell Mike sells potato chips there. And God, I'm eating a bag now. And God, these things are great. So gotta love those Mike sells potato chips.
He's gonna have to give us money for that. You know that. No, I'm teasing.
They need to be doing something for us.
That's right. You guys have a wonderful night out there. Thank you for tuning in. And anytime, we'll be back next week, Thursday, probably at about 5:30.
That's right. Same time, same bat channel.
Yep. Great
See ya.
night. Bye.
No matter how far, to fight for the right without question or pause, to be willing to march